So I'll see him then, I'll mention it to him.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
Outstanding, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, Dave.
What's going on?
We're looking at it. We got about 100 repository properties to get through. We'll get through them as fast as we can for you guys. My list.
Yes.
We'll do, run through them and then do a big motion.
Works for me.
And so we get to the rejected one, and we'll do the rejected one, and then we'll do the other one.
Yeah, I like the big motion.
Yeah. It's easier to follow, right? Bill's checking to see right now. I guess we have a little problem with camera.
Oh.
And so are we good? Looks clear? Beautiful. Is it? We still got 2 minutes to go.
Okay. Oh,
Chad. Yes, we are live, so everyone, you know.
mhm.
That'd be
Opportunity on Saturday to stop out for the
Animal
radio offering.
We gotta cut that out.
Yeah.
And they were nice people. A couple of them I knew already.
Yeah.
Which one's your nephew?
JR, young kid.
Mr. Mancino?
No.
No.
The other younger kid, it was.
Say his last name. Ford. That's it. He lives up in South Newcastle. What a nice young man.
Yeah, he is. Very smart.
Yeah, obviously. But I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, they do a great job.
That's on standby there.
I was there for almost an hour. They probably got tired of me asking questions.
Oh, no,
What was in Lisa?
Now, they also told me
Perfect.
what you were doing.
Maybe not.
Scott, we just done that. I didn't know that was a hobby of yours or a passion.
Picked it up last year. I know my buddies go firefighters out in the other towns.
A lot more nerve than I did. Really, we'll talk about that. That's great.
All right, it is 10 o'clock. Let's spin them up. We're already on the AV. We unlatch my packet.
Oh, is it working?
Yeah, we're gonna check it as it comes up.
Okay.
I guess it was blurry 2 weeks ago. But I will call this June 28th, 2022 meeting of the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners to order. Will all please rise for a pledge of allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence. Lisa, would you lead us in the pledge? It's all on you.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And all please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Here.
Commissioner Vogler?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here. I'll note that we're being live streamed right now. It's being broadcast via our YouTube channel. Also, that we're being recorded internally for our purposes in the pile of minutes. And to that end, if you have any business before the board, I would ask that you come up to the microphone and speak into it. The microphone itself doesn't actually project, it just records. So if you walk up and there's no noise coming out of it, that's why we've had a couple people confused before. On that note, row officer reports and comments. Do we have any, Dave, you're the only row officer I'm looking at. You have anything?
Start open bids.
Beautiful. Actually, to that note, we forgot to put the opening the bids for timber harvesting on the agenda. It's a de minimis action. We're opening them, we're not actually taking action. So to that end, can I get a motion to amend the agenda to allow for the opening of the timber bids under receipt of bids or proposals?
So moved.
Second. The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will be able to do it. And we'll get through these as fast, I promise. Public comments. Do we have any member of the public here wishing to make public comment? If you'd be able to give us your name and your address too, just for our internal purposes.
Ashley Sires, and I live over at 427 Butt Street, in the city.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to start off by saying I went to the governor first, and he said start smaller, so I'm starting here. I wanted to start the process of protecting reproductive rights in the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Especially like right now in Pennsylvania, we're actually doing better than a lot of states because we don't have rules against abortion, but we don't have anything like protecting it either. And that's all I wanted was, when I called the governor, he said you need to start smaller because I can't put those rules through.
So, when,
I imagine you guys can't either.
no, no.
Yeah,
When the government, when you contact the
We're
governor's
too
office.
small.
Yeah, you gotta go one more, you gotta go one more up.
got it.
What I'd advise you to do, if either Dan or Ed, if you guys wanna chime in on this, your state representatives, Chris Sinata, your state senators, Albert Vogel,
Yes.
they're the guys that write the laws. We just administer certain portions of them.
I figured, yeah.
Yeah.
So next step up, got it.
Yeah.
That's
But
it.
thank you.
Appreciate you coming
Thank
in.
you for the
Of
comments,
course.
yes.
All right, you all have a lovely meeting.
Yeah, you do the same.
Thank you very much.
Any additional public comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to one hell of a fiscal contractual section. And like I said, we'll try to move through these pretty fast. What we'll do is until we hit that rejected one, we'll just move through them, and then whenever we get to number 8, we'll take a motion to approve all 8 as opposed to doing 8 individual motions, if that sounds good to both of you.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
All right, so first on deck, resolution 2022-124. Now therefore be resolved by the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the board is authorized to execute the bid acceptance form accepting the bid made by Calvin Ultimus, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in the amount of $550 for a repository property located at Smithfield Street, having a parcel ID number 060469900, City of Newcastle. I will note those municipal and school district forms that have been returned to us for the next 8 have been paid by, I assume all instances, the City of Newcastle.
Thanks.
Perfect. Any questions on that? Yeah, good.
Fine, thank you.
125. Now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the board is authorized to execute the bid acceptance form accepting the property made by Matthew Mangino in the amount of $500 for a repository property located at Cox Street, having a parcel ID number 07-067701, City of Newcastle. Questions, comments on that? It's 2. 126. This bid was made by Gavin Pegney, the amount of $500 for a repository property located at 800 South Mill Street, having parcel ID number 08-050200, City of Newcastle. Questions on that?
No.
127. Vanessa, I'm counting on you to stop me when I hit that reject. Made by a Lindall Street in the amount of $500 for a repository property located on Lindall. I know, but is the name of the person the same?
Stanley.
No, right here, Sonia Stanley.
Oh, Sonia Stanley, okay, accepting the bid made by, instead of Lindell Street and that bottom one, Sonia Stanley. There we go, thank you. In the amount of $500 for a repository property located, I was about to say, that would be one hell of a coincidence.
Right.
Having parcel ID number 05-107900, questions on that?
Yeah.
128. Michelle Conti in the amount of $1,000 for a repository property located at East North Street, having parcel ID number 02-046500, City of Newcastle. Questions on that?
No, sir.
129. Now, if we resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the board is authorized to execute the bid acceptance form, accepting the bid made by Denny Flora Jr. in the amount of $500 for a repository property located at Gibson Avenue, having parcel ID number 05-099500. Any questions, comments on that?
No.
130. Also Dennis Flora Jr. in the amount of $1,000 for property located on Gibson Avenue, having parcel ID number 05-084000, City of Newcastle. Questions on that? 131. Dennis Flora Jr. in the amount of $1,000 for repository property located at Gibson Avenue, having parcel ID number 05-083900, City of Newcastle. Questions on that?
That's number 8.
That's number 8.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
No question.
All right, I will take a motion to approve resolutions 124 through 133. 131.
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Up next, we have repository bid made by James Constant. This is 132. in the amount of $800 for repository property located East North Street having parcel ID number 02-046500. And I'll note the reason that this is being rejected is another individual bid for the same property and issued a higher bid. At least for the city of Newcastle, we might accept it. I will take, and what we do in these cases, we have to take a motion, a second, and then we vote it down, is generally how that works. So I will take a motion to approve resolution 2022-132.
So moved.
Second, I'm sorry, second.
There we go. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. The question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
No.
Commissioner Vogler?
No.
Commissioner Boyd?
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. And Vanessa, again, please stop me when necessary.
Yep.
133, Thomas Fehrenbach, in the amount of $500 for repository property located at Oak Street, having parcel ID number 04-036800, City of Newcastle. Any questions, comments? 134, bid acceptance form for Thomas Fehrenbach, the amount of $500 for repository property located at Oak Street, having parcel ID number 04-166300, City of Newcastle. Questions, comments? 135. Also Thomas Fehrenbach, amount of $500 for repository property located at Oak Street, having parcel ID number 04-172800, City of Newcastle. Any questions? No questions. 136. Thomas Fehrenbach, amount of $500 for repository property located at Oak Street, having parcel ID number 04-172900, City of Newcastle. Questions? Thomas Fehrenbach, amount of $500, 137. For repository property located at Oak Street, having parcel ID number 04-173000, City of Newcastle. Any questions?
Morgan, that's it for those ones.
Beautiful. I'll take a motion to approve resolutions 133 through 137.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next two are rejected.
Rejected.
So
Okay.
we're on 138.
Yes.
138. Mr. Thomas Casey, amount of $500 for repository property located on East Reynolds Street, having parcel ID number 05-152200, City of Newcastle. There was a lack of motion at City Council, which is why that failed. And then 139. Mr. Thomas Casey, amount of $500 for repository property located at West State Street, having parcel ID number 06038100, City of Newcastle. Also failed for lack of motion. I will take motion to approve 138, 139.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
No.
Commissioner Vogler?
No.
Commissioner Boyd?
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. That gets us through the repository portion of the search.
Could we just make a quick note that even if we had approved those that were rejected by the city, they still would not have gone through, because if one of the three taxing bodies does reject the proposal, it's rejected. So, but we do generally respect the wishes of the local municipality.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. We have no advertising bids proposals today. We do have receipt of, I believe, 2 bids proposals for our timbering project at Quaker Falls site. We have our county controller, David Prestipine, with us today to open those bids. Dave, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm hanging in there.
I actually have 3 bids.
All 3.
Start over now?
Start or rip them open.
Okay.
I'll note the process here is the controller will open the bids, public meeting. The prices for the bids will be publicly noted. And then generally we refer those bids to the appropriate administrative officials, usually the controller's office, the office of solicitor, in this case, probably the planning department, before taking future action at a future board meeting. Okay, ripple whack.
First one I have here is Springfield Hardwood Products in Mercer, Pennsylvania. At the tune of $9,000. Next one here, J&M Logging and Lumber in Orwell, Ohio. Their bid is $25,800. And the final one from Wilmington Woodworks in New Wilmington, Pennsylvania. The bid $21,448.20.
Thank you. That concludes the opening of the bids.
Yes, it does.
Any questions or comments for the controller? Any questions or comments in general? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to table the bids and refer them to the appropriate administrative officials.
So moved.
Second?
The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bids are tabled. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Up next, we have 5 warrant registers. This is why we don't skip meetings. Dated June 23rd, June 21, June 16, June 14, and June 13. So basically the entire month of June's worth of expenses. And I'll give my colleagues probably more than a minute to check those over.
This is true. Thank you.
And then take a motion to accept and file the warrant registers, because we've got a while to do that. The process through which the county expends any public dollars are, first budget process starts, and we set the budget usually in December of any given year. We set specific amounts in each line item for departments to appropriate expenditures from. From there, what happens is if a department head, if a warden needs dynamite, for example,
As he has in the past.
as he has in the past, he fills out a purchase order, sends it to the controller's office encumbers it, assuming there's money in the budget, which then, as it reflects on our records, takes that money out of the budget and appropriates that specific expenditure. From there, assuming there's money in the budget, the purchase order comes out to the Board of Commissioners office. 2 commissioners sign it. If 2 commissioners do sign it, the purchase order is approved, heads back down to the controller's office, where the controller authorizes the treasurer to pay out that purchase order. The controller makes a note of all expenditures in the form of a warrant register. That warrant register gets sent here for approval to make sure that there are appropriate checks and balances on how public dollars are spent. I'll note that if 2 commissioners don't sign it, it doesn't get approved. We spend a lot of money here, and we got a lot of warrant registers. And, that's why it's taking a little bit longer than that normal. We're at about 1.5 million a week on average.
I will make a motion to accept all of the warrant registers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Up next, approval of the minutes from Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. Again, I'll give my colleagues a minute to check those over and take a motion to approve the minutes or make any changes if necessary. Speeding on these meetings were from 2 weeks ago, as we did not have a meeting last week.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have 3 written communications today. First is from an FR Brandt Company. The purpose of this notice is to inform you of our intent to submit the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System and Water Quality Management Permit application to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection for the following. Applicant name Jared Frank, facility name Frank Property, facility address 2027 North Camp Run Road in Fawnville, Pennsylvania, which is most likely Perry Township, which says right below that. And he is installing a SFTF to serve an existing dwelling on the subject property. Any questions on that one?
No.
Up next from BHE, GT, and S, Berkshire Hathaway Energy Company. Notices to inform you of the requirements of Acts 14, 67, 68, and 127 of the municipality's planning code to inform you that the Eastern Gas Transmission and Storage plans to submit an application to Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection for the following: a Chapter 105 general permit utility line crossing, GP5, and temporary road crossing. Project name is LN-25 Vent Casing Repair Project. It's a very intuitive name. Eastern Gas Transmission and Storage Company, which is located in Richmond, Virginia. And the description of the project is EGTS is proposing to perform pipeline maintenance activities associated with their natural gas transmission line in New Beaver Borough in Lawrence County. Project will primarily be located in the existing pipeline right-of-way. EGTS will use public roads and temporary access location, including in a limit of disturbance to access the project. Again, this is taking place in New Beaver Borough. Any questions, comments on that? And the last one, pursuant to Act 14, this is from Apex Companies. Apex Companies LLC is informing you of our intention to file an air quality state-only operating permit with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection on behalf of Americal Aggregates for their Welsh mine located in Wayne Township, Lawrence County, Pennsylvania. Questions, comments on that? I'll note before I take a motion to accept and file correspondence that as in most cases, if it relates to state permitting, entities who are taking certain actions in Lawrence County relating to development, whether that's land development, certain air quality permitting, certain other permitting is necessary and is permitted through the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, DOT, DCED when necessary, and other state agencies. They're required to notify the Board of Commissioners that such activities are taking place in Lawrence County. We do not have authority to green light or red light any permit application. They're just required to let us know so we're aware of what's happened in our county. On that note, are there any additional questions, comments, or any of that? I'll take a motion to accept and file correspondence.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion, ask, are all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Staff reports. JR, I know you wanted to mention Mohawk's newest program. If you'd be able to approach the bench.
Good morning, and thank you for giving me a few minutes this morning. Mohawk Area School District contacted me while we were in preparation of the school tax files to inform me they are the first school district in Lawrence County to offer a program. It's a tax rebate program. It kind of piggybacks what the state already offers with the property tax rebate program. So they wanted me to get the word out to Mohawk residents, anyone based off of the age and income, you may be eligible for an additional tax rebate on your property taxes. The school district wanted to, because of the pandemic and the ongoing economic disruptions, they wanted to be able to get some money back to its taxpayers. So they decided to offer this program to the taxpayers. Again, it's based off the age for senior citizens, widowers, and disabled persons with fixed income and limited incomes. They can get up to a possibility of $325 back on their property taxes. So this is a rebate. They would get a check. In order to apply for this, they would have to complete an application. The applications can be picked up at any local tax office, the legislative office. We have copies at the assessment office, and as well as the Mohawk's website. If you need assistance completing the forms, the school district business office will be open on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Just some numbers. Last year, Mohawk's property tax application for state program, they had about 412 residents that applied and got a reduction in their school taxes. So again, they're the first school district in Lawrence County. This is starting to take off more in the eastern side of the state. So I'm glad to see that we in the western side are starting to pick up some of these programs as well.
Absolutely. Another thing I'll just add on to that is that school districts by nature of the beast are traditionally the largest source of property tax issuers, I guess might be the word, in local government. Usually ends up being the school district, then us, then the local municipality, except in some cases like the city of Newcastle. And I believe Elwood City Borough might be creeping up there. Might be wrong on that though.
He would know.
Yeah.
There was a advertisement in yesterday's newspaper about this program as well, so.
Excellent.
Thank
That's all I have. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Any other members of staff have anything to report above and beyond what's already on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to commissioner reports and comments. Dan, looks like you're on deck first today.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right now, I have no comments. Thank you.
All right. Loretta, you're number two. Let's floor is yours.
Well, I just wanted to talk about the weekend activities. There's so many different things going on. I realize it's just Tuesday, but this is, 4th of July weekend, many different things happening and going on, starting on Friday. Elwood City, New Wilmington, City of Newcastle, Riverwalk, different concerts, different events, farmers markets. Just visit the different websites, visit Lawrence County website. I mean, our tourism agency is always advertising the different events going on and happening. So there's a lot to do this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. Good weather for, I don't even want to say it, but probably in the longest time that we'll have a good, nice, long weekend without rain. And then I'll stop. That's it.
I'll be celebrating my mother's getting married on
Oh,
so
congrats.
that'll be fun Sunday.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
well. Congrats to her. Yes.
So she's,
Very
they're
good.
very
Okay,
happy.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Is it
Fantastic.
an outdoor?
It's, I think it's outdoor. They gave me the address, they said I got a +1. I'm just showing up with a +1 and
And having
Going
a
from
great
there.
time. That's
Very
it.
so,
Excellent. Well, it will be a nice day.
yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Very good. That's it.
I went to SPC yesterday, which is always a pleasure to see all the regional commissioners down there. The big topic of conversation, aside from the TIP being approved, which is the Transportation Improvement Plan for Southwest Pennsylvania yesterday, which I'll actually be asking. I know former boards have done it. We haven't, mostly due to COVID. But I'll be asking Cheryl Moon Sirianni to come up and give a presentation of sort of what's on Lawrence County's transportation list at a public meeting, which I think that's good for the public to hear. But again, one of the big topics continues to be broadband expansion. And before I went into the executive board meeting, I was talking to the Washington County Municipal Authority Director, and that agency in Washington County is effectively the agency responsible for deploying broadband or facilitating the deployment of broadband in Washington County. And one of the projects they're looking at through the federal government, there's a middle mile broadband program that's being pushed out through Fed. Which what it does is it doesn't connect houses and it doesn't stretch fiber across a state. What it does is it identifies areas, gaps in coverage, whereby, again, you're not necessarily connecting to a house, but again, you're not drawing out all of this different fiber to get to a significantly underserviced area or unserviced area. One of the projects that they're looking at is potentially including a broadband spine from the top of Route 18 in Wilmington Township all the way down through Greene County along that entire route. Using the middle mile funds to provide funding for that program. The other one that they're looking at, and this was discussed at the SBC meeting, is from Armstrong County through Butler County on US 422 into Lawrence County through Slippery Rock Township. It ends from the diagram that I could tell, and I'm not an engineer, but it ends roughly in Shenango Township is where they're looking at drawing those lines down. So Vanessa will get you eventually over in Mahoning on 422. But I'm going down to, they were gracious enough, they invited me to head down to a meeting at Duquesne Electric Company, which is the electric provider predominantly for Allegheny County. But they're sort of one of the firms spearheading this potential project. So I'll be going down there on Thursday to meet with folks from Greene, Washington, Beaver, and obviously Lawrence to see if we can get some movement on that.
Very
We
good.
got an email within the last week regarding that middle mile. Did you each get one?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a good program. It's amazing how much money is about to flow down.
I know. And we still are saying it, that I said it this morning, we never realized we had such a problem not having broadband or not having the connections that we do. And I find more and more as I travel throughout the county that we have more dead spots. And, Chad's here, it's like when we're talking to him, he already knows these things that where those dead spots are, but it's amazing. So it's good to know that that's happening, and we're going to be heading down there and getting involved and make sure we get our middle mile too.
Yeah, the original proposal was it cut off in southern Beaver, and again, I was talking to the municipal director, and he actually indicated to me, he's like, we'd actually really like to include
Oh,
Lawrence as
absolutely,
well,
sure.
which is nice. Again, you got those 4 counties instead of 3, it makes it 25% more competitive or whatever that.
Absolutely.
That's all I have, I believe.
All right, excellent.
Up next, Warden, thank you for being patient. And Lisa, thank you for being patient. If you guys would be able to approach the bench, we've got resolution number
140.
140. For possible approval of the jail-based Vivitrol program. So, what do we have going on? Good to see
Okay,
you guys.
so it's just the continuation of the Vivitrol program that's there. It's just a no-cost extension to exhaust the funds that are there. So we have enough to last until June 30th of 2023. It'll cover the Vivitrol, my salary, and insurance.
Great. How many inmates do we traditionally have on the program? I know that they come and they
They
go.
come and go. So right now, we have 19 applicants.
Okay. And what's our total population right now, or most recent one?
26 this month.
Oh, wow. So it's a decent percentage of inmates that are on the program.
Yeah, we shoot for about 10%.
And what you're right there.
Okay, yeah.
Questions, comments?
I just have to add and say it that, great work being done all of these years and the continuation with it and having our new command system up and running and knowing that things are progressing even further now is great. Great, good work, excellent.
Let me apologize, it's my bad memory once again. And I realize this is a contract, which is why you're here, because the commissioners obviously have the sole authority to enter into contracts or renew them. But help me remember if the other 4 members of the prison board are aware of this proposed extension. I can't remember if we talked about it at the last meeting or not, and I apologize.
And I can't remember either. If it came out in an email,
I did send an email. I
yeah,
don't know.
okay.
Did it go to all 7 members, if you recall? Could you just circle back and if just so they're aware? That's the only thing I would ask.
Definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. The only thing I'll add is modifying the resolutions a little bit. And so that last statement being a whereas statement, that should be now therefore be resolved by the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners. So just change that.
You're on the ball today, catching these.
Well, every once in a while, I get the full moon is receded, so just like my hairline. All right, I'll take a motion to approve 2022-140.
So moved.
Second. The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Beth, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Excellent.
Up next, 141. This is probably just easier to read the whereases. This resolution reads, whereas the General Assembly of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has enacted and amended the Industrial Development Assistance Law for the purposes of promoting the welfare of the people of the Commonwealth by rendering financial assistance to industrial development organizations engaged in promoting the development and expansion of business, industry, and commerce in the respective counties of the Commonwealth. And whereas pursuant to the provisions of the Industrial Development Assistance Law, only one such industrial development organization shall be designated and qualified in each county to receive such financial assistance in accordance with the provision of said law. And whereas to qualify for financial assistance, an industrial development organization must be designated for that purpose by the Board of County Commissioners of the county which said industrial development organization is to represent. And whereas pursuant to Resolution R-2003-179 dated July 22nd, 2003, Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation was designated as the industrial development organization for the County of Lawrence in adherence to the Industrial Development Assistance Law and the Pennsylvania County Code. And whereas the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners find it in the best interest of the county to reaffirm the aforementioned designation upon the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation with its principal office at 325 East Washington Street, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. 16101 has been designated by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Lawrence, Pennsylvania, the industrial development organization to represent the said county for the purposes of the Industrial Development Assistance Law. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the Lawrence County Industrial Development Corporation is hereby designated as the industrial development organization for the County of Lawrence with full power and authority to represent said county in all matters relevant to and for all purposes of the Industrial Assistance Law. The reason for this, I'll note, is in an examination of the county code, the way the dollars currently flow from Lawrence County are, the Commissioners has an allocation for the Forward Lawrence organizations. Those flowed previously to the Lawrence County Regional Chamber Foundation. Upon examination of the county code, we found that that was a, I will use the word improper, flow of funds. And instead, those funds, upon the reading of the county code, need to go to the LCEDC if we intend to continue to fund that organization. So we talked to the solicitor, and the solicitor recommended, since the last time this was done was 2003, that we re-up and recertify the organization. Questions, comments?
I'm good.
Just a minor addition to that, in our discussion with the solicitor, he noted that the original resolution that Commissioner Boyd referenced from 2003, and actually predates me, that was done by Commissioners DeCarbo, Fosnaught, and Burek. That resolution had an old address, so he felt that one of the things we're doing here is updating, obviously, the address of this organization. One comment he made to me, I don't think we were all involved in this discussion, but he said, you know, it doesn't hurt to periodically do this. I mean, you're looking here at a 19-year-old, if my math is correct, resolution that we are now updating. And as I thought about that, I think, you know, it might be something that every time we get a new board of commissioners, maybe that board should look at this, but that's for the future. But I did want to add a little bit in terms of what the solicitor had recommended, so thank you.
Absolutely. I will take a motion to approve 2022-141.
So moved.
Second,
Motion and second is on the floor for discussion. I have a couple amendments that I'd like to potentially add to this resolution. I'll pass a copy of those to you guys. Just the one.
Gosh, Morgan, you have too much reading time.
I have too much time, you're good. But amendment number one, and I'll read it, which is to resolution number 141, reads, whereas the county commissioners and only the county commissioners have statutory power to designate one organization as the county's official industrial development organization, and whereas the functions performed by the industrial development organization are governmental in nature, and the designation allows the organization to represent Lawrence County in all matters relevant to industrial development within the county, and whereas the designation of the industrial development organization allows the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation to receive state and local taxpayer funds, and whereas according to the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation's latest publicly available tax return, Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation self-reports that it is a publicly funded organization and that public funding accounts for 62.37% of all organizational revenues. And whereas in both funding and designation, the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation acts on behalf of state and local government, using a significant amount of taxpayer resources to fund its operations. And whereas the Board of Commissioners believes that transparency and accountability are hallmarks of good government in our democratic society. And whereas the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act requires governmental agencies to deliberate and take official action on agency business in an open and public meeting. And whereas the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation is acting as a quasi-governmental agency, funded at 62.37% of organizational revenues by the public, and holding a formal governmental designation as the Industrial Development Organization, now therefore be it resolved that by the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners that resolution number 141 be amended to include the following language. 1, the designation of Industrial Development Organization is issued to the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation on the condition that the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation must open its meetings to the public. 2, for compliance with this resolution, the Board of Directors of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation must amend the organization's bylaws to require the organization to hold open and advertised public meetings in full compliance with the provisions included in the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. 3, upon the amendment of the bylaws of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation to include a Sunshine Act provision, the organization will furnish a copy of the amended bylaws to both the Office of the Lawrence County Commissioners and the Office of the Lawrence County Controller for verification purposes. 4, so the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners or the Lawrence County Controller find the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation's holding meetings in violation of the provisions set forth by the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act, resolution number 141, shall be rescinded in full, and the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation shall be decertified as the Industrial Development Organization for Lawrence County. And 5, the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation should not be certified as the Industrial Development Organization until such time as this requirement is fulfilled. So I'd like to make a motion to introduce that amendment to Resolution 141 to require that they open their meetings to the public. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
I'm not in a position to second this at this time, since this is, first of all, the first time seeing it. Secondly, I'm not an attorney. I don't know if we have the authority to carry out some of these proposals. I'd prefer that perhaps our solicitor take a look at these proposals.
All right, so,
Yeah, I like that idea. I'm a little bit, there's a lot here I was trying to decipher, so if it would have been better to have it ahead of time. I'm in favor of having the solicitor take a look at it first.
well, I'll tell you what, if someone would be able to second it, I have a couple more, and then we can table it for the solicitor to review and bring it back up at a future meeting.
I think it's too much. I don't want to second it. I think it's too much right now. I have to be honest with you.
Well, we have to attach it to the resolution in order for it to be effective. It's conditional on the resolution. So again, if we're gonna re-examine it at a future date, if we pass the resolution, we'd have to pass an additional resolution. And again, I'd like these to be considered.
I'm willing to consider them after the solicitors had an opportunity to review them.
All right, so that will fail for lack of a second for the time being at least.
Well, will you accept a motion to table this proposal?
Yes, but since it's an amendment to the full resolution, we'd have to table the full resolution and then bring it back up potentially next week. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's fine.
But-
Absolutely. No motion on
No motion.
anything, no.
Okay.
No.
because you said you had a couple others?
I have two others, yes.
Okay.
The next, I'll get this going, copy you here. Let's copy you there, copy here. And this is proposed amendment 2 to resolution 141, which reads, whereas the county commissioners and only the county commissioners have the statutory power to designate one organization as the county's official industrial development organization, and whereas the industrial development organization is responsible for representing the county on all matters related to industrial development within Lawrence County, and whereas Pennsylvania statute designates many of the governmental powers relating to industrial development, such as zoning and land use regulations, to municipal governments, and whereas the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation currently prohibits individuals serving on municipal governing bodies and as municipal mayors from serving on the board of directors of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation, and whereas the League of Municipalities is the county's cooperative forum for its boroughs, townships, and city, and whereas the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners desires for the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation as an extension of county government to build and maintain positive relationships with Lawrence County's municipalities, and whereas the Board of Commissioners believes that meaningful partnership between the County of Lawrence and its municipalities is critical for countywide redevelopment efforts. Now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners that resolution number 141 be amended to include the following language. The designation of industrial development organization is issued to the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation on the condition that the Board of Directors of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation appoint no fewer than 3 members of a municipal governing body, e.g. borough council members, township supervisors, and city council members, or the mayors of city and borough governments. The Board of Directors of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation has full voting members with all rights and privileges reserved for members of the Board of Directors. 2, the municipal officials appointed to the Board of Directors of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation shall be selected by a public vote of the League of Municipalities, where each municipality receives 1 vote per appointment. Upon the selection of municipal appointees by the League of Municipalities, the Board of Directors of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation shall formally appoint these designated appointees to the Board of Directors of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation. 3, upon appointment of municipal members, the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation shall furnish a certificate of appointment signed by both the designee of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation and the municipal appointee to both the Office of the Lawrence County Commissioners and the Office of the Lawrence County Controller for verification purposes. 4, the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners or the Lawrence County Controller find that the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation is out of compliance with this section of the resolution. Resolution number R-141 shall be rescinded in full, and the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation shall be decertified as the industrial development organization for Lawrence County. 5, the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation shall not be certified as the industrial development organization until such time as this requirement is fulfilled. That's Amendment 2, and again, I assume we're doing the same thing with that as we are with Amendment 1, in terms of tabling it, referring to the solicitor, and circling back around next week.
Well, You're making this amendment as a motion, is that
Yeah, I
correct? Like you
moved
did
it,
with
yes.
the prior one. The prior motion was not seconded.
No.
Nor was there a motion to table.
I think it has to be what we can do, I think, if I'm thinking parliamentary procedure, which gets, as you know, convoluted. I think if we amend the resolution and table the resolution, we can always amend the amended resolution at the next meeting, if that makes sense.
No,
When you say no, do you mean you don't want to, or you don't agree with it?
No, I don't, I think that there's, I don't wanna make a motion on anything with this. The first one died. If you make a motion for the second one will then also die, for lack of a second, if you don't. I just think that before doing any type of action to move any bit of these amendments forward, and if it means that we don't move the appointment of the Economic Development Corporation as the industrial development organization for the county, then we table that and don't make a motion on that
And
as well.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think there's so much here that I know for myself, I wanna pick it apart and decipher it, and then I wanna bring it across to our solicitor just to see, because there's so many different parts of it.
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, so let's do that and then move forward with them, if whether it be next week or the week after, but I think there's a lot in here that bears looking into to move forward, to make sure that we're not, like now we're involving the League of Municipalities, which is fine, but what authority are we giving to them? And then what are we taking from economic development? What all do they have to amend with their bylaws, with the foundation board, and things like that? So I would rather have a minute or two, more than a minute or two, I'll be honest with you, lots of time to decipher what all is in
I'm
here,
fine with that.
step by step for myself. So that's how I feel about it, yeah.
This particular amendment, I do concur with the intent. I've said to the folks at the foundation and chamber that there should be additional municipal
Absolutely.
representation.
Absolutely.
Currently, Commissioner
Right.
Spielvogel
Mhm.
is, I believe, the only elected official serving, at least definitely on the foundation board. And that I have asked them to consider adding other municipal elected officials to their board. I think the concept of a public-private partnership is crucial. And right now, the public representation on that board, in terms of elected officials specifically, could use a few additional more folks. And I don't want to jump ahead of you because you sit on the
Okay.
board, I don't. But it's my understanding that the board is right now going through a process of interviewing candidates to choose a new executive director of that organization. And I would like to give that individual the opportunity, once he or she is settled in, to look at matters like this and work closely with that board to see if these revisions can be made. I think the other question that needs to go to the solicitor is, do we as a board of commissioners have authority to place conditions? I don't know if we do or not, and that's something that the solicitor would need to give us guidance on. So accordingly, I'm not able to second the resolution, or the amendment at this time.
Well, here's what we'll do. Again, I'll make the motion. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Amendment fails due to lack of motion. And we'll move on to the third. And again, my expectation is that the full motion or the full resolution 141 will be tabled for future discussion.
Well, we still have the opportunity, we could still vote on
You
the
could
proposed
absolutely still vote
resolution.
on it.
Right.
You could absolutely still vote on it, but they don't have some
Right.
more words.
Thank you.
There you go. This is number 3 and the final one. To 141. And this one reads, whereas the county commissioners and only county commissioners have the statutory power to designate one organization as the county's official industrial development organization, and whereas the industrial development organization is responsible for representing the county on all matters relating to industrial development within Lawrence County, And whereas, according to the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation's latest publicly accessible tax return, the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation reported total assets of $6,914,636 and total liabilities of $5,531,213, leaving net assets of $1,383,423. And, whereas, according to the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation's latest publicly accessible tax return, the organization's current assets only amount to $2,460,029. And whereas the bulk of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation's liabilities are derived from publicly financed debt owed on the Millennium Technology Park development, and whereas all publicly financed debt owed on the Millennium Park Technology development will come due in 2026, and whereas if publicly financed debt is not paid down, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania will liquidate the assets of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation to satisfy this debt. And whereas the Board of Commissioners is unaware of any debt payments being made or any financial strategy deployed by the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporations to fulfill their debt obligation to Pennsylvania taxpayers. Whereas the functional continuity of the industrial development organization is critical to ensuring the Lawrence County economic development operations are successful. Now be it resolved by the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners that resolution number 141 be amended to include the following language. 1, the designation of industrial development organization is issued to the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation on the condition that the Chief Executive Officer of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation or their designee provide a written and verbal report on the financial status of the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation to the Board of Commissioners at a public meeting of the Board of Commissioners. 2, the report shall include specific details and figures relating to the organization's current and long-term debt obligations, as well as a plan of action on how the organization will repay its current and long-term debt obligations. 3, a copy of this report shall also be provided to the Lawrence County Controller for verification this requirement has been satisfied. 4, the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation shall not be certified as the industrial development organization until such time as this requirement is fulfilled. That's the third and final that I have. And I'll make the motion. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Motion fails due to lack of second. I'll make a motion to table resolution R-2022-141 to hopefully next week, but maybe 2 weeks from now, to give the solicitor time to review those amendments and provide us with legal advice as to whether or not we are able to enact those amendments.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion is second. Any further discussion?
I think it might be somewhat of a moot point as it relates to number 141 specifically. 141 is essentially amending Resolution 179 of 2003. It's updating that resolution.
Right.
There's no change in terms of which organization is being designated. So even if 141 were to be tabled or defeated, I would be of the opinion that Resolution 179 of 2003 would still remain intact. But you have your motion is to table 141.
Yes.
Okay.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? And again, the big thing here, I think the intent is number one, allowing a greater degree of public participation in the economic development process. Number two, allowing for municipalities to have a say in the economic development process, certainly more so than they have currently. And number three, to ensure that the organization is in a position where where industrial development operations won't be interrupted in the event of a liquidation of assets. All three of which I think are not unreasonable requests. But again, I appreciate you guys entertaining me here and agreeing to table it to refer to Jason.
You made me have a brain freeze with these.
I have them all the time, so it's one of those.
I would express maybe a different point of view with your, on the last amendment, proposed amendment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sixth whereas, where you indicate that if publicly financed debt is not paid down, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania will liquidate the assets. You need a crystal ball to know what they'll do in 2026. We don't know if I think it'd be more accurate to say that they could or might liquidate the assets. I don't know if there's anything in writing that says that they absolutely will. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, that's one of those scenarios where, again, I think you bring them before the board. I think they produce, which should be a publicly accessible document since it was done with the Commonwealth Financing Authority, the contractual terms of the debt that is currently on Millennium Park. And I think you go from there.
Again, I'll say that I'm very hopeful that the new individual that is hired will develop a strong working relationship with this board, with the townships and boroughs in the city of Newcastle, with our state legislative delegation, and for that matter, with our federal legislative delegation. Those relationships do need to be strengthened. There's no question about it.
Absolutely.
And I also concur, as I said earlier, there does need to be, I think, greater public elected official representation on those boards. We are, unless I'm mistaken, the county is the second largest funder of, is that still the case, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, yes.
Of the organization.
Yes.
And yes, we do have a seat on that board, but again, I think we're all in agreement that the public sector needs greater voice, and that organization, hopefully the new person, will work to strengthen those relationships with all of the public sector people in the community. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'll add to that, that is a lot of the conversation that's being had ongoing with the foundation board, the chamber, economic development, that it's almost, it's to the point that that's one of the most valuable assets that a new CEO could have, is that ability to communicate and reach out to the municipalities and those elected officials. That was not done in the past. So it is definitely at the top of the list of what that new CEO would bring to the table.
Well, and I'll add to that, as much as I hope that that's the case, I learned at a young age, trust but verify. And so,
Well, again, there you go. That's why this is tabled
Yep.
for this.
yep, trust but
You know?
verify.
Yes.
And so while I certainly would like to believe that a new CEO and that the board of directors would implement these changes voluntarily, I certainly would like a safeguard for the public to ensure that these changes are made. And if they were going to make them anyway, no reason not to include them in these documents. But again, the motion is on the floor to table.
Seconded.
Seconded, thank you. And
Proposed resolution 141.
yes, and I will have Vanessa call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. The motion is tabled to a future meeting. Thank you both.
But I'll note that resolution 2003-179
Stands
remains
as
in
is.
effect.
Stands as is.
Bring those points back up next week or the week after.
Thank you.
All right, next one isn't so dramatic.
Okay.
It's our liquid fuels force distribution, which will be 142. The resolution lists all of the projects and all of the municipalities to which these are our liquid fuels distributions are going towards. If you guys have any opposition, I'd rather just, it's available in resolution format for anybody to look at. I don't feel the need to go through everything. The process, I will say, was different than last year, as the state completed its audit for 2018 and 2019 of our liquid fuels, and I suppose the easiest way to say it is we found out we didn't spend enough money, which is always a good sign.
Tried.
Did what we could, but just couldn't quite draw it down.
Right.
And so what the state did is it has a formula that's used to, in those instances, determine which municipalities get which amounts. That formula, which is codified in the law, is then applied. And so these are not discretionary amounts funded at the discretion of the Board of Commissioners. These amounts were stipulated by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and this is just simply a ratification of that force distribution process, so we can start getting this money out to these municipalities.
I think it's interesting to note that we communicated with all 27.
Mhm.
The listing that Commissioner Boyd referenced has 24 municipalities. Three municipalities chose not to respond.
Dan, I have an update. SNPJ and Scott both declined.
They declined.
Both either sent in a letter or an email. And the only one we have not heard back from was Taylor Township. We've left messages and they have not gotten back to us.
Thank you. I'd also like to note, and I hope we can perhaps have further discussion on this, that as was noted, this is a distribution of surplus dollars that have accumulated. I know I've received a couple calls, and I suspect you folks have as well, from a number of municipalities. While they're very grateful for what we've done here, they're asking if it's possible, since this was a special distribution, if you will, that they've asked us to consider possibly a second round this calendar year. They're noting that the quotes they're getting for their road projects because of inflation have gone up dramatically, cost of asphalt, et cetera. I think we need to take a look at what balances we have and whether or not it's possible to do a second distribution this calendar year. I will note that this was an obligation, what we're doing today. We had to do this. There's no requirement, however, that each year we make distributions. The primary reason we get liquid fuel dollars is to take care of our 27 bridges. And in some years, we have dollars left over that we can then distribute to the municipalities. In some years, we've been able to do that to a large extent, and in other years, we haven't had as much money to distribute. But I'm certainly supportive of what we're doing today, partly because we have to.
That always helps.
It sure does. But I don't want to close the door, at least, on the possibility of a second round. But it warrants discussion, and it warrants making certain we know what's in the various accounts. So
Yes.
thank you for letting me expound on that.
Absolutely. Is there any additional comments? I will take a motion to approve 142.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Look forward to getting that money out.
Yes.
The next, what is that, 6, 7 resolutions, all relate to the Workforce Investment Board, which is one of the boards that is responsible for directing our workforce funding, or more accurately, I think, advising on how we direct our workforce funding through West Central Job Partnership. West Central Job Partnership is a joint consortium with Mercer County. Actually, I think, do we have a board meeting
It's
coming up?
coming up.
Yeah.
I'll look it up while you're chatting.
But these, that agency controls about $11.5 million with state, federal, July 12th. There we go. Thank you.
It's here.
There we go. Perfect. That makes it,
Right,
hopefully we'll be able to meet them for lunch. But anyway, yeah, they control about $11.5 million worth of state, federal, and private grants, and potentially soon local grants through ARP, geared at improving our workforce in Lawrence County, which is, as we know, is the topic of the day in terms of economic development right now. So yeah, we're just appointing individuals to serve on that workforce investment board. And the meetings, by the way, are open to the public for anyone ever wants to.
Speaking of, and I mentioned this to Commissioner Spielvogel just this morning, when we meet as a governing board, I've noticed that this Workforce Investment Board, prior to COVID, met publicly in the evenings in person, and they would alternate, just like we do, they would alternate from Mercer and Lawrence. Since COVID, obviously during COVID, they went virtual, understand. They're still virtual. And I'll give you just a heads up that when we do meet with the staff in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna ask them to consider going back in person. I just think, maybe I'm old fashioned, but I'd rather see you face to face and talk to you face to face. So just, I didn't want to catch you off guard when we meet
Yes.
with them.
Well, and I'll tell you, like what SPC does now, I'm sure Northwest does it too. You have a hybrid option.
True,
Right,
you're right.
right.
You know, I think that's his ideal, no, mostly because even yesterday, SPC were in the middle of the exec board meeting, and the technology went down, and we had to pause the meeting for about 20 minutes while we figured it out. But anyway, no, I agree with you, they should have in-person meetings. But on that, I'll try to move through these expeditiously unless any of you have comments on any individual being nominated. Resolution 2022-143
143.
appoints Lisa Campbell of Butler County Community College as the part of the education and training sector to the board. 144, I'm gonna go down to Howard, and we'll do that same thing we did with the,
Right.
if either of you have any objections to that process. Howard has been there long, I have to go no on him.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
Aaron Arico for DAL, or for Dunkin' Donuts, located at 3307 Wilmington Road, Newcastle, Pennsylvania, Shannon Township, business sector. Gary Grant at PABCOR, located in the city of Newcastle, business sector. David Piantek, I hope I'm saying that right, at Pyrotechnico Fireworks. He lives in Union Township, representing the business sector. James Hill at Hill Railroad Car Company in the city of Newcastle, representing the business sector. And these are resolutions 143, 144, 145, 146, and 147. And I'll also note that these individuals are recommended to us by the Chief Administrative Officer for the West Central Job Partnership. Are there any questions, comments on 143 through 147?
No.
I'll take a motion to approve 143 through 147.
so moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 148, Howard Thompson. It says here he's representing the Beaver Lawrence Central Labor Council, located in the city of Newcastle for workforce labor on the board. I will note, and this is almost in a congratulatory manner, that Howard was just elected as the president of District 13, I believe it is, for AFSCME, which is the organization, the parent organization, which represents all AFSCME local labor unions in Pennsylvania. And so even though I'm going to vote no on him because he's been on for too long that I can't, I do want to congratulate him on that honor. So I'll take a motion to approve 148.
so moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay.
Then we just have 149 here, Mr. Helmut Kraus from Flowline Division, Easy Flow USA, the business sector. I'll take a motion to approve 149.
so moved.
Second.
We have a motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. This is 150. St. Morris Home strikes again.
Oh, I was gonna
Morris
say.
Street Home strikes again.
again, what else is left? I'm afraid to even say, what could be next?
This is a property that was acquired under the former board that we've been trying to sell for about 3 years. It was acquired under a housing rehab fund. It didn't cost the county
Yes.
anything. But there seems to be a never-ending process of resolutions to finally get this into the hands of the person who we, that's why the county does not do ourselves acquire
Correct.
properties and do housing rehab on those properties.
No.
We're very clearly
Oh my
incapable
gosh.
of handling that.
Mm-mm.
Any questions, comments on 150?
No.
I'll take a motion to
Hopefully
approve.
this is the last one, so moved.
I doubt it, but second. Take a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Just a couple fund transfers here. $200 from contingency to attorney's fee out of the public defender. Where there are, Larry's rationale, there are an unusual amount of bills for other counties to represent Lawrence County parolees. So our people are getting out in the world. And then number 2, we're transferring from ARP contingency to assessor improving public sector capacity, ARPA. There's like 200 different
Yeah.
things in ARPA. The amount of $652,300. And the reason for that is for our software updates, so that we don't have to do a countywide reassessment. So I will take a motion to approve administrative transfers A and B, assuming there are no questions or comments on this.
So moved.
Second, the motion is second, any further discussion, hearing none. Questions on the motion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. No ordinances on the table for introduction or final action. Next commissioners meeting will be Tuesday, July 5th at 10 a.m. in the commissioners meeting room. The courthouse will be closed on Monday, July 4th, in observance of Independence Day. And, am I missing anything?
That's it.
Salary work after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, any additional public comments? Seeing none, any additional comments from the board? Seeing none, I will adjourn to the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners.
Back in about 5 minutes. Give you enough time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what